What's up and welcome back to Rumor Has It Official. Let's get straight into talking about Life After Lockup. This is season 2, episode 22, and the title of this episode is The Schemiest Scheme Ever. Starting off with Marcelino and Brittany. So Brittany is mad that Marcelino went behind her back and talked to Tito. She says all of the confidence that she had in getting her rights to her son is gone. Brittany and Marcelino, they go to see her attorney to see where this now puts them with Giovanni, seeing as Marcelino fought Tito. The initial plan was that they would all come together and sit down and have a discussion with Tito along with their attorney. But now that won't be possible. The attorney makes it clear that Marcelino's approach has made things very difficult for them. And he tells Marcelino, I know you're all man and macho and you were a service member, but you have to do what's in the best interest of your wife and for Gio. And that means doing the responsible and legal thing. Marcelino mentions a situation that he witnessed as a child. I knew Marcelino was making this situation personal and that it really stems from his childhood. That's why he's not thinking clearly and not handling things the proper way. Moving on to Andrea and Lamar. So Lamar is irritated and over this Utah trip. He is tired of everyone trying to convert him. Lamar says that it seems like it's not getting through Andrea's thick head. And he says that he's trying to do his music, adding that Andrea is making him feel like Dorothy. He just wants to click his heels 3 times and go home. I thought that was hilarious. So Lamar tells Andrea that he feels like he can't do anything without people trying to get him baptized and everything is all about the mission. So Lamar drops Andrea off for lunch with her friend. And when her friend Michelle wants to know how Andrea's vacation is, Andrea responds that it's turning into a staycation. She lies and tells her friend that Lamar is easing into Utah. Her friend responds, is he really easing in or is that what you're telling yourself? Andrea has already taken steps to move back to Utah. She has already called her kids' old school to make sure that they can re-enroll. And on top of that, she says that she's been talking to Lamar's parole officer. Lamar knows nothing about this plan. She even goes as far as to taking his debit card and driver's license. Andrea is delusional, okay? And she doesn't seem to think what she's planning to do is wrong. Moving on to Scott and Lizzie. So Charlene brings back 2 drug tests for Lizzie and Scott to take, and she's hoping it will prove to Scott that Lizzie is no good for him. I think that Charlene likes Scott. Scott is no saint. He's made and he continues to make mistakes as well. So Scott tells Lizzie that he can't take the test because he can't pee at that time. Like he can't pee at the moment. So Lizzie takes the test. When she takes the test, everything comes back negative. So Lizzie takes Scott into the bathroom and he still says that he can't pee. Lizzie says that he only has 2 options: take the test or just come out and tell the truth. Let's move on to Megan and Michael. So Megan is all alone going through old letters and flowers that dried up inside of a little sandwich bag for Michael. And I often see her in a different home. So I'm just curious about what happened to her apartment. In the very beginning, she had an apartment. Then you see her at her mom and dad's house. Now she's at another home, which almost looks like it has a touch of someone who's older. So I don't know if she's now living with her grandmother, but she seems to be hopping around a lot. She explains since their fallout that they've been in this gray area as far as their relationship goes. She's been texting Michael and he has been radio silent, as she puts it. She worries that the new baby's arrival will be something that gets him trapped up again. Now, how does he get trapped up again when he knew Sarah first and that's his wife? Okay. So Megan says that she doesn't feel like herself. She doesn't feel centered or grounded. She adds that if Michael told her he was getting a divorce today, she feels like she would be torn because it would be a clean slate slate for her, but at the same time, she wouldn't be able to just forget everything that happened. And I don't believe that. I believe that she would easily take him back. I mean, she's still holding on for this long, and he's pretty much non-existent in her life. So I feel like if he came back and was like, I want to make this work and give it another shot, she would buckle and do it. I know it for a fact. Let's move on to Sarah and Michael. So Sarah's excited for Michael to meet baby Rain and to also see Aviana since it's been 4 months due to him being on tether. So Sarah says that she also is very nervous because she came with the divorce papers. When Michael gets there, he goes in for a hug and a kiss. And Sarah says that it caught her off guard. I think that behind the scenes, they've been talking and actually have been on good terms, because why would he just act like everything is normal between them, knowing all of the mess that he's caused? During Michael's visit with Sarah, he says, will you go out to dinner with me? He says that his mom or sister can watch the kids. And it was funny to me because Aviana screamed so loud. She was like, no, like she wasn't trying to stay with none of them. So I thought that was hilarious. Sarah says the longer she is in the same room as Michael, the more she gets upset. He tells her that he wants to spend time with her and the kids, adding that he wants to utilize the time that they have. Sarah responds she doesn't really have anything to say, and she'd be okay if they didn't go to dinner. Michael then switches up with the quickness and says, yeah, me too. That quick, he cut off his whack charm and the real Michael comes out. They begin to argue a bit, and then Michael says that we need to get a divorce, Sarah. I think that production told him that she was going to present those papers to him, so he basically beat her to the punch when he saw that his game wasn't working on her any longer. Moving on to Clint and Tracie. So on the way to the chapel, Tracie said that something triggered Clint and that Clint can't take a joke. She feels like he is using the smallest things to get mad on purpose. So they were scheduled to renew their vows at 7 p.m. But when production arrived, Clint was gone, nowhere to be found. So Tracie thinks that maybe Clint just doesn't want to renew their vows, or that he's with another woman and doesn't want to be with her anymore. Clint comes back and his attitude is stank, okay? Dumb and Dumber start arguing and saying some very low things to each other. During Clint's confessionals, he looks just doped out. This dude is doped out, okay? It's really sad. He's definitely on drugs. Moving on to Scott and Tracie. So Scott cracks the bathroom door and tells Lizzie that he has a problem and keeps going off and on drugs. Scott adds that he can't go on like this. He doesn't want to lose her and he needs somebody to be there for him. He even says that he has no one. I just feel like he's just trying to manipulate, but we all know that's a lie because Charlene is clearly there for him and lives there with him. He starts acting and fake crying, talking about, I helped you, you can help me. And Lizzie tells Scott that she has a lot of thinking to do. When she says that she's leaving, Scott gets highly upset and tries to guilt trip her. Lizzie tells Scott she can't risk going back to jail. Let's go back to Andrea and Lamar. So Andrea wants Lamar to make a pros and cons list of living in Utah compared to living in California. Lamar isn't with it. She begins making this list while Lamar sits on the couch with his headphones on. Let's move on to Marcelino and Brittany. It's the day before her custody hearing, so she decides to do a picnic and have fun with Giovanni. Brittany says that she's nervous because she has a very conservative judge, adding that she just wants to do right by her son and doesn't want to lose him again. Let's go back to Andrea and Lamar. So Andrea tells Lamar that she found a rental in Utah and has to put down a deposit on it that day. At first, Lamar doesn't really take her serious until she says that she's staying in Utah and so is he. Plus, she talked to his PO. She repeats herself over and over saying, you can't go back to LA. You can't go back to LA. She probably said it about 3 or 4 times. And when she tells him that she has his ID, he gets up to check his pants. And this woman really did take this man's ID and debit card and credit card. So Lamar says that he goes to school and does his music. The more Andrea talks, the crazier she looks and sounds, okay? Lamar even goes as far as to calling her a B. I thought that was real disrespectful. So she runs in the bathroom. This lady starts fake crying, and Lamar's banging on the door and rattling the doorknob to get in. Let's go back to Clint and Tracie. Clint and Tracie continue arguing back and forth. Then finally, they break down and decide to renew their vows. Did y'all catch Tracie itching her arm? Like she was itching that arm. I don't know if she was fiending for her next fix. Let's go back to Scott and Lizzie. Lizzie says now she has to make a big decision. She goes over to Scott's to talk about everything. Scott says that he went back to drugs when Lizzie broke up with him. Lizzie makes it clear that she's not going back to prison and doesn't want to be with Scott anymore. Scott is trying to guilt trip Lizzie and says things like, what does the Bible say about forgiving? He begins to pull out all these old letters from Lizzie, letters that she wrote to him in prison. And he actually told her that he got rid of the letters. So I don't know what was his purpose for keeping them, because I'm pretty sure she shared some things that she would like to keep private, and some things that she probably wanted him to destroy and he didn't. So she begins to rip some of the letters and he gets very upset, throwing the paper, hitting her in her face, throwing it on her arm, knocking over chairs. And during their confessional, it was just a mess. So he's definitely still under the influence because of his actions. And I think that it's great that she's not around him, especially if she wants to continue to live a clean life. So good for Lizzie for wanting to actually stay out of jail this time. So I need to hear your thoughts on this episode of Life After Lockup. Again, this was season 2, episode 22. And the title of this episode was The Schemiest Scheme Ever. Comment down below letting me know about your thoughts on the episode. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Share with a friend who also loves watching Life After Lockup. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified on the next time that I make an upload. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace.